What is up, everybody? What is up? You are checking out the PGH Chris show here on PGH Chris TV. I am PGH Chris. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while since we talked a little bit of Pittsburgh Steelers football. We haven't talked, certainly haven't talked live since Mike Tomlin has been released. I did make my video about that. I did talk to you guys about that a while ago there, but we're gonna talk a little bit about that. We're gonna talk some head coaches. We're gonna talk the Steelers season recap. We're gonna talk a couple things in this live before I go get ready for wrestling duties here on the Sports Jedi Network. Which go subscribe, go follow. Tonight we are covering TNA Wrestling. Second night on AMC. They are live from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So wanted to give them the shout out there, give the Sports Jedi Network. As you guys see it right here, we'll be live over there on the YouTube at 8:50, going into 9 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, where do we start, man? I mean, do we start with the recap? Do we start with the coaches? I mean, there's a lot that we can get into right now, but let's before I do talking to the coaches, let's talk a little bit about the Steelers season. Let's recap that first. Obviously, I don't like the way things ended. I think, you know, we didn't play we played a great 3 quarters of football against the Texans and we just couldn't get the job done. That's the simple fact. And obviously I'm not happy with how our season ended, but you know, we made the playoffs when people said we wouldn't, right? We won our division when teams said we wouldn't. It is just unfortunate how our season ended, especially on that last quarter there. I thought we played a really bad fourth quarter, but I thought we had a decent season. I mean, I don't know. How do you guys want to tackle this? Where do you guys want to start? Week one. We'll start a little bit here. So week one here, they beat the Jets in the not home opener, in the opening game, opening day. They went over to MetLife Stadium. They beat the Jets 34-32. It was a Aaron Rodgers. It was a game where people thought, okay, Aaron Rodgers looks good, but this isn't a Pittsburgh Steelers team that could be a contender in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs or anything like that. I think it was just one of those things where people gave us the win or the benefit of the doubt because it was the Browns. And they didn't really take us as serious, during that when people were talking about the Browns or the Jets could have had a good year. Justin Fields didn't play a bad game. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall ran the ball down our throat the entire game. The Jets looked like a playoff team on week one. Aaron Rodgers looked good, but then we get into week two in our home opener and we just lose to the Seahawks 31-17. I mean, we didn't play well. Jalen Warren did lead the Steelers with 134 yards from the scrimmage, but that still wasn't enough. Sam Darnold played a really, really good game, as did Cooper Kupp. Not a way you want to start the home opener. Of course, Chris Boswell hit a long 48-yard field goal there. And, we ended up getting the lead cut to 7-3. We got some points on the board, but Cooper Kupp again just balling out, and eventually we couldn't get the job done. It was a hard loss. And then week 3 is where I had a lot of confidence because we walked I'm not saying the Patriots were a team that people were talking about week 3, but there were a lot of things expected from them, right? Mike Vrabel being the new head coach, Drake May, Stephon Diggs, they have two running backs. They have a solid defense. I mean, the Patriots were rightfully so because they're in the AFC Championship right now. They were a team that people were talking about, and they were a team that, automatically in the beginning of the season that they could be in this position where they're at right now. So for us to go into Foxborough and actually beat the Patriots 21-4 in week 3, it was great. I mean, our defense played like our defense would, right? They played Pittsburgh Steelers defense. 4 fumbles, 5 sacks in the game against Drake May. I'm reading that. I'm telling you guys that right. We forced 4 fumbles and had 5 sacks in that game. And then we go overseas to Ireland, and then we beat the Vikings 21 or 24 21. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHCHRIS at checkout for 10% off your order for DUBBY. Join the DUBBY movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGHChris TV show. Now, let's get back to our program. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHCHRIS at checkout for 10% off your order for DUBBY. Join the DUBBY movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGHChris TV show. Now, let's get back to our program. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHChris at checkout for 10% off your order for DUBBY. Join the DUBBY movement and be better. And I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that ad there by our sponsor of the PGHChris show, DUBBY. DUBBY, use code PGHChris for 10% off. I appreciate that. I got a delivery, Amazon, so I had to go check that out real quick. But thank you, DUBBY, for sponsoring PGHChris TV. But let's get back into it. Where I was talking about, right? We went to Ireland, beat the Vikings 24-21. Now, already, right? We're 4 games into the season. We were 4 games into the season. Good record, right? We're on a streak here, 3-1, and then we lose to the Browns. Now, before I get into that game, you already notice, and if you're a Steelers fan, you've been watching this team all your whole life. You're like, holy shit, we're in this position again where the game's going to come down to 1, 2, 3 points, a field goal. And this happened literally the first 4 weeks. Now, obviously that Seattle game wasn't close, but that still did happen in the next couple of weeks going up. So it was kind of challenging, but like I said, they ended up going to Cleveland, or Cleveland ended up coming to Pittsburgh. They lose 23-, or the Steelers, excuse me, beat the Browns 23-9. That's when Dylan Gabriel made his start, because we ended up losing to the Browns in the end of the season to Shador, last game of the season, which I'll bring that up in a sec. But we did beat Dylan Gabriel 23-9. You know, at that point, it was like, okay, we didn't play teams, the media, ESPN, all these guys, they're saying, okay, now the Steelers haven't been tested. They haven't played a team that's good in any, all 3 phases of the ball. So when we, on that Thursday night game where we lose to the Bengals by 2 points there, again, one of those games all season where it's a Steelers thing, right? Game comes down to less than 5 points. We lose, not even to Joe Burrow, to Joe Flacco. Green Bay comes into Pittsburgh. Now, this is kind of like Aaron Rodgers' little homecoming. This is his little, he wants the revenge. Fortunately, we lost 35-25, lost by 10 when I thought we had them beat. I mean, we played, I thought, a really, really good game. It just couldn't get the job done at the end of the game. Our defense could not get the job done. We dropped 4-3. Momentum was lost because, now we're on a 2-game losing streak. And then the unthinkable happens, ladies and gentlemen. We beat the number 1 team in the league, forced 6 turnovers against an 8-1 Daniel Jones in the Indianapolis Colts. That was a phenomenal defensive game. 6 turnovers against the number 1 offense at that time. At that time, number 1 team in the league, and we forced 6 turnovers. We got the momentum going, but again, what happens? We lose to the Chargers the week after. Now we're 5-4. We beat the Bengals, The Steelers scored two defensive touchdowns, two turnovers. We beat the Bengals. We lose to the Bears when Aaron Rodgers went down the week before. Mason Rudolph got the start. And could not, and I thought he played a decent game. We just, he threw that interception and we just couldn't recover from there. Ended up losing to the Bears, which isn't again a game. I always compared that game. It feels like the Packers. I compare that game to the Packers game because we played such a good game in the first two quarters. Really, first three quarters. In that fourth quarter, man, we just could not get the job done. Could not get the job done, and it it caused us the game. It was a good game, but it would have been nice to walk in to Chicago there and upset the Bears, but didn't happen. Ended up losing to the Bills right after. I mean, people were chanting "Fire Tomlin." We were 6-6, ladies and gentlemen. We lost to the Bills, became 6-6 at home, and everybody was chanting "Fire Tomlin." And I was like, wow. I was like, right then and there, I'm like, okay, we're 6-6. We're 500. I started to panic a little bit. I'm thinking to myself, and ultimately, right, I was right at the end because Mike Tomlin is no longer our coach. I'm thinking to myself, if we don't make the playoffs or something like that, there's a possibility that Mike Tomlin's no longer our coach. And ultimately, I was right, but I was wrong because we made the playoffs, but he stepped down. And I'm going to get into all that after this. We're going to talk about the head coaching search after we go over this. I got a couple more things to say here because after we went 6-6, fire Tomlin chants were chanting across the building like it reminded me of Matt Canada when everyone was chanting "Fire Canada." That's what that reminded me of. But we went into Baltimore the week after and we beat the Ravens 27-22. In that crazy game where Isaiah likely caught the ball at the end and they didn't count the touchdown because he didn't fully go across the goal line. We beat the Dolphins and we beat the Lions 29-24 in Detroit. Now it's like, holy shit. We're in the position right now where the Ravens suck. Lamar Jackson's not playing. All we have to do is beat the Browns next week. We're on a 3-game winning streak, and we're the AFC North champions. We can rest. Oh, by the way, real quick, that Lions game is where DK Metcalf punches the fan, so he gets the 2-game suspension, which ultimately hurts us the week after because we go into Cleveland and we lose 13-6 to Shador Sanders, who needed to make a statement there. He did, and ultimately it came down to next week. Week 18 in the AFC for the AFC North title. In what you could argue one of the greatest Sunday Night Football games in the last couple of years, where the Steelers beat the Ravens in the AFC North Championship game 26-24. Tyler Loop misses that field goal. It was amazing, and obviously we know what happened with the Texans. We lost 30-6, couldn't come down there. But it was a good season. It was a fun season. I thank Aaron Rodgers for coming to Pittsburgh. We got to start thinking ahead. We got to start thinking for the future. That's what we're going to talk about. But before we talk into that, before we dive into a little bit more of what I want to talk about with the head coaches and what the future is and who we should hire, who we shouldn't. One more time, let's take a listen from our sponsor, DUBBY. DUBBY Energy. Use code PGHCHRIS for 10% off. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHCHRIS at checkout for 10% off your order for DUBBY. Join the DUBBY movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGHChris TV show. Now, let's get back to our program. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHCHRIS at Check out for 10% off your order for DUBBY. Join the DUBBY movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGHChris TV show. Now, let's get back to our program. That is DUBBY Energy, the official sponsor of PGHChris TV. Shout out to the Sports Jedi Network. Shout out to Dude Wipes, the official sponsor of the Sports Jedi Network. And you guys can go find out more information on that on tonight's live stream, where we do TNA Impact. All right. Now, head coaching search. Where do we want to tackle that? How do I want to dive into that? When I saw this image right here that I'm about to play you guys right now, I almost lost my mind. You're really going to tell me that we interviewed this guy? So you're going to tell me that there's a possibility of Aaron Rodgers staying in Pittsburgh? What happened to building for the future in this fucking organization? What happened to getting that young guy that spot and building your, not just your coach, but building your team alongside your coach? That's the Pittsburgh Steelers way. Do you know what the Pittsburgh Steelers way has been in the last couple of fucking years? And I want you guys to see me in my face, because I'm serious when I say this. You know what the Pittsburgh Steelers way has been the last couple of years, ladies and gentlemen? Putting bandages on shit that needs stitches. I'm going to say that again. Putting a fucking little bandage on a big cut that needs stitches. Why is it ever since that Big Ben has left Pittsburgh and he retired that we're putting bandages in the quarterback position? We're putting bandages in the offensive coordinator spot. You're going to tell me Matt Canada, what was the guy that you wanted after, what was his name? Damn it, I forget. My mind is drawing blank. We've had so many OCs before, since fucking, all that shit. But my point is, you put Matt Canada here, and you draft Kenny Pickett. That's a fucking shit show. He gets fired. You bring in Arthur Smith for Russell Wilson. Justin Fields ends up getting you a 4-2 start to the season, and you bench him for Russell Wilson. Why? Because you don't want to build for the future. You want to put Band-Aids on a fucking big situation that needs stitches. It might sound corny, it might sound stupid, ladies and gentlemen, but it's true. It is absolutely true. Really? This is what we're resorting to in Pittsburgh football now? Hiring this motherfucker? Is it because he beat us in the Super Bowl with Rodgers? Is this the plan? To bring that, good old 2010, 2011 Green Bay Packers field back into the Steelers? Why? Hire Sean McDermott. Now, this is old because Brian Flores has got the extension with Minnesota. He's staying in Minnesota, but we know he was in Pittsburgh. Look, I'm not saying he'd be my first hire, but I'd say I would have him over Mike McCarthy. I'll tell you that right now. But the Steelers also have done multiple virtual interviews, and I'm going to read you guys who they were with. They had a virtual interview with the following: Chris Shula, who is the Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator, which, is this college football? Is this college football? Where we're interviewing head coaches? We're interviewing coaches for your head coaching position when they're in the NFC Championship game? Huh. All right. Pass game coordinator Nate Shieldhouse from the Chargers. They interviewed with the Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minner, who is now I believe he got signed as the Ravens head coach. He's a new Ravens head coach. So he's obviously not there. We had an interview with Clay Kubak, San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator. The Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator Hafley, and Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator Ilro Viro. I am so sorry for fucking butchering your name. Eliro Viro. I'm gonna fucking show you guys what the hell this is right here. And then Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. Those are the people that the Steelers have interviewed virtually for their head coaching position. Shout out to SI.com Pittsburgh Steelers for the information. Look, get Sean McDermott. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, come on. We're really gonna entertain and waste our fucking time interviewing Mike McCarthy. So who's our quarterback if Mike McCarthy ends up coming to Pittsburgh? I'll answer the question for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be Aaron Rodgers. It's gonna be Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't really see a world where if Aaron Rodgers, look, reports come out that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to come back. Especially, or there was rumors that, he was willing to talk about it, this and that, but at the end of the day, with Mike Tomlin not being in Pittsburgh, he's not going to come back easily. If Mike McCarthy comes to Pittsburgh, now it's like, okay, well, this is a guy who I trust, I won a Super Bowl with, blah, blah, blah. But this is my thing. Are they gonna hire Mike McCarthy in hopes that Aaron Rodgers comes back? Because what the last thing that I want and that we need as Steelers fans is for Mike McCarthy, it's for the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers to be in a situation where we don't know who our head coach or our quarterback's going to be in going to the last month of the fucking year. Almost every other team in the league knows who their quarterback is next year. Unless, even the Raiders probably know that they're going to get Fernando Mendoza, right? You're going to tell me that the Steelers are going to go yet another fucking season waiting for that one dude that's just going to fill the fucking Band-Aid for the year? I mean, we don't need that. Steelers Nation, we don't need that. I think that's ridiculous. But that's just me. Hire Sean McDermott, and that should be really the only fucking head coach that should be hired in Pittsburgh. Get rid of Arthur Smith. Let him take a head coaching job. Let that team fucking suffer. Get him out. All right? We'll see what's going to go. We'll see what happens. But I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit because I haven't talked to you guys in a while. And there was a lot to say here. I'm going to, do some other videos here and some other stuff, but I appreciate you guys. All the links will be in the description to my socials, X, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, as long as the Sports Jedi Network. So check us out there later tonight for TNA Wrestling. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. See you guys in a couple days with some videos and some wrestling stuff on the Sports Jedi Network.